listening to the Marketing Personalities Podcast, a podcast for growth-minded entrepreneurs that serves up valuable insight and interviews about aligning your marketing strategy with your personality type. Because here's the deal. You shouldn't have to feel fake and salesy in order to grow your business. And you no longer have to. Your marketing strategy can feel good to implement and it can work. You can attract the right clients and customers to your business and grow your profits, all while staying true to who you naturally are. So in the name of honest business growth, bring your unique talents, perspectives, and personality to the table. And join us on this week's podcast episode to discover marketing that feels good for you. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. I'm Brit Kolo, and I'm here today with Tasha Booth, who is the founder of the Launch Guild. Tasha, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, totally. So Tasha and I are here today to discuss community hosting and mentoring as an ENFP, which is Tasha's personality type. And we're going to dig into all of that. She's also in the middle of a launch right now with her business and launching a course. It's a really exciting time for Tasha, and we're going to get an inside look into what it's like to do that sort of thing as an ENFP. But first, you've got to get to know her, right? And understand who this person is. So Tasha, tell us about your entrepreneurial life right now. What do you have your hands in?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I have my hands in everything.
Don't we all?
Which is also ENFP life. Yes. But I am the owner and founder of the Launch Guild. So the Launch Guild is an online business management and digital marketing implementation agency. So I have a team of 15 that work with me. We work with coaches and course creators on their online business management. We do ongoing systems and operational management, as well as course and podcast launches. So that is one whole side of my business. And then the other side of my business is that I coach virtual assistants and online business managers on how to start and then grow their business. So I've got a couple of passive products, as well as a full-length course, and then a 6-month one-on-one and group coaching program for VAs and OBMs. And then I also have a podcast. So that's kind of me in a nutshell with all the things I'm doing currently.
Okay, so you weren't kidding when you said you had your hands in everything.
I know.
Okay, so this is incredible. So you kind of have two really core arms to your business, and then you've got your podcast going on as well. So you've got your team of 15. Can we go back to that number? Team of 15 humans. It's not a small team. That's a lot of humans. Yeah. So you are working with coaches and course creators, and your team, correct me if I'm wrong, your team is in their businesses helping them do their thing, right? Helping them stay in their zone while everything else is managed. And then you're also, this other arm of your company, you're coaching other managers, VAs, assistants, those type of people to build their own businesses. Is that right?
Yes. And so my team doesn't just include VAs and OBMs. We have Facebook ads manager. We have 3 copywriters, graphic designer, podcast editor, basically anything around the implementation pieces of digital marketing is what we can support our clients with. And so, the other side of my business, the coaching piece, really came out of that because my business and my agency grew pretty quickly, and people kept asking me how I was doing that. So my podcast is actually called How She Did That. And it's an answer to VAs and OBMs on how I built my business.
Oh, that's so good. Now, you said that you work primarily with coaches and course creators, helping to manage their companies. Tell me more about those people. What stage of business are they in? Are they in a specific niche or industry, or kind of across the board? Tell me about those people.
Yeah. So most of our clients, because we're working with them at such a high level, they are usually 6- and 7-figure business owners, all female currently. And I think I'm probably going to tailor down my niche soon and make it just female coaches and course creators. And they already have one iteration of a product or service that's working really well for them. So they're not usually brand new to their business. they're already doing something that is kind of the core, and then they're looking to branch off, or they've gotten to six figures kind of on their own, maybe with, one very part-time VA, and realize like, oh crap, if I want to grow this thing and not work 100 hours a week, I really need to find some more substantial support around my business. And in terms of what they're doing, we have somebody who is a psychic, and she coaches people around their own clairvoyance and their own clairaudience. And we have, business coaches. We have people that are helping people that are transitioning from working full time and retiring, and like what's after kind of midlife. We have energy medicine coaches. So all kinds of coaches, which I love, just the difference in all of their coaching styles and also what they're helping women do. So yeah, that's the exciting part as well.
That's super cool. So it kind of sounds like they've gotten their thing to a point. Now they've hit this upper limit problem that can be helped by just simply having professionals do their thing so they can go do their thing. And actually, now that brings me to I checked out your website before this podcast episode, and your main headline on your homepage is, this, but I'm just telling the listeners.
Yes.
Homepage headline is, "Our zone of genius is keeping you in yours." That is freaking brilliant. Kudos to whoever wrote that copy. Like, seriously, genius. Whoever, if that was you or somebody else, like, you need a raise. That's great copy. And I see that. Like, if you've gotten your company to a certain point, kind of like doing all the things, and it's worked, but that you've kind of hit your upper limit, because there's no way for you to make it bigger without working harder. And you don't have a working harder level. Like, you're maxed. So now you bring in the Launch Guild, and
yes,
they take care of stuff that you're just actually, you can do, but you're not a genius at.
Right. And the fact of the matter is that most CEOs are visionaries. So
Yes.
They're not really great when it comes to being in the weeds of things. And so, things would be slipping through the cracks for them, because they'd be like, okay, I want to launch something. Well, there's like 752 pieces to actually launching something, right? So making sure that all of those integrations are there and everything may not be their zone of genius project planning for those, but it's ours. It's what we love to do.
Perfect. Now, you mentioned the word visionary, and tell me about this. You're an ENFP, and which we're going to get more into what that means in a second, but I can't let this go. You're an ENFP, and a lot of times I have a lot of ENFPs in my friend groups and business friend groups. Like, they just seem to be everywhere. I think ENFJs and ENFPs just fit each other really well. And I would say like 100% of the ENFPs that I know do identify as visionaries. So I'm curious of like, how do you identify as a visionary yourself, and then you've just built the team around you to integrate? Or like, how does that work for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the reason that I have a team is because I started recognizing where I was falling short and where I was out of my zone of genius. And so I was like, I love what I'm doing, but in order to be able to scale my business, I need to come in and have people that are better at certain aspects of this than even I am. I definitely identify as a visionary. And the way that I've built my team, my org chart allows me to be a visionary now and to have really pretty much fully, I would say, step into that role. So for example, my team, I have what I call my admin right hand in chief, and she's actually going full time with me in January, and she's going to be kind of the COO of the business. So she has stepped into that kind of integrator role in the Launch Guild. And like, if there's something that my team needs immediately, they know to go to her before they come to me. So if they need something from LastPass, or if they have questions about where specifically things live, if there's a new SOP, standard operating procedure, that needs to be created, she's the one that does that. Because what I was finding was that I was getting too far into the weeds for things, right? And so things were falling through the cracks internally in our own business, or I wasn't able to get back to people quickly because I was becoming the bottleneck. And then in terms of how we work with our clients, we have Basically, it's usually teams of 3. So there's an OBM, an online business manager, and then a tech VA and an admin VA that works client facing with that client. So I'm not in the day-to-day for each and every one of our clients every day. If there's something that's really, really super exciting for me, like I love setting up Acuity for people. So if there's something that comes along like that, I will volunteer and be the person to do that. But I don't have to be the person to do that. And getting that org chart in place, that organizational chart really in place and making it really cohesive was something that I worked really hard on all of 2018 so that now I can pull myself out of the day-to-day of the business and then go do the other things that I love, like coach and create new programs and courses.
Which sounds like exactly who you serve. So like you are your best ideal client. And
Yes.
I hear so much of my own words coming out of your mouth right now. Like, oh my gosh, this is so what somebody like me needs at a certain point. It's like it's so necessary. And I see you doing such a brilliant job at it. And it's kind of it like the reason why is really clicking into place for me, just hearing you explain it, because you are that person and you have the unique skills and capabilities to build the team around you to integrate for you and for your clients, which like, could you ask for anything better? I don't think so. So that's really interesting. And we're going to come back to your ENFP marketing personality type in a little bit. But I'm curious, how did this company start, the Launch Guild? What made you bring this to the world?
It completely started by accident. So my degree is in theater and political science. Like this was not on my radar at all. I was a performer professionally for 12 years and then decided I was tired of, either the feast or famine kind of piece that goes with being in musical theater full time. And so I decided to do one of my other passions, which was health and well-being and fitness and movement, and became the health and well-being director of 2 YMCAs in Tucson, Arizona, where my husband's Air Force, so we live here. And I had a blog, and it was a hobby blog called The Frugal Fit Girl. And it was just talking about like frugal and healthy living and while getting out of debt, like how to live a really fulfilling and healthy life while saving money and everything. And I was in a bunch of Facebook groups through that blog, through, just learning about blogging and stuff, and started seeing VAs pop up, like people asking for VAs all the time. And I at first had no idea even what a virtual assistant was. And then once I realized what it was, I realized that I was cultivating the skill set of a VA just by having my blog. And I'm really great at picking up tech really quickly, and it just makes sense to my brain. So I was like, you know what? I have evenings free, weekends free. Like, let me earn some extra money to pay off some debt and some student loan debt and some credit card debt. Started doing it on the side, very part-time. And by about 4 to 5 months in, I was making more by doing part-time VA stuff on the side than I was at my full-time director level job. And that's when I was like, this may be like an actual business that I should like treat like a business. And my husband ended up deploying for 4 months. So I had like 4 months where I had, every single night, every weekend to just really hustle, which I hate that word, but I really was just, if he's going to be away, I'm going to utilize this time for the next 4 months, and really got to the point where I was able to first go part-time in my full-time job. And then 4 months later, leave my full-time job completely. So I was from the start of my business to when I left my full-time job was about 8 months, and then decided to just keep building it. And what I wanted it to look like was an agency model where I was working with, team and with other people. So really worked all last year to make that come to fruition.
So what took you to the agency model? What made you say, because I have to assume there was the time where you could have said, okay, I could scale by just increasing my prices and working with a more premium client and just continuing to be like a one-woman show, or I could make this bigger than me and have a team. What made you go down the agency team model route?
Yeah, I think number one, because I enjoy working with other people. So I love being in Slack channels all day with a team and not feeling like I'm so alone, because the online space can get really lonely. And so having a team, having people to bounce things off of was really fun for me and continues to be. And then second of all, I know myself and I know that I like doing a bunch of different things. And so having a team gave me the ability to, like I was saying before, step in and out and try different things. And then third of all, I saw it as a need with our clients, because every time when I was a solopreneur, anytime our client needed something that was outside of the scope of what I knew, we would have to go out, create a job post, do the interviews, cross our fingers that they were the right person. Then if they weren't, do it all over again. And so I was like, if I could handle this like all internally, how much better could we serve our clients? So it really came from those three places.
Yeah. What I'd love to underline there is that you were self-aware enough to realize that you like to do a bunch of different things. And hashtag ENFP, like if there's anything, I know that that's true. I don't know a single ENFP that doesn't like a ton of different things and can get super excited about just about anything. And that's probably why we're really good friends. And you were humble and gracious and generous enough to step aside and say, and my clients need other people too. And so taking the step to bring those other people that your clients needed onto your team, man, I admire that, sister. Like that's super cool. And I see you doing it, and I see you doing such a great job at it. So nice work. Like good decision. I like it. Okay, so that is on the agency side of your company. Now I want to talk about the teaching and mentoring side of your company, where you are instructing and helping out these other business owners who are building their own companies to help other business owners, right? So it's very like ripple effect kind of meta. But tell me about that side, and I would really love for you to tell us about your latest course that you are literally launching right now called Built to Profit. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I first started with one-on-one coaching. And as I'm sure you know, there's only a certain number of hours in the day, and one-on-one can get really exhausting, even for me being a people person. Like there's days that I have 8 back to back, and I was just like, this isn't sustainable in the long run. So how do I serve more people? And that's kind of where my podcast also came into play, because it became the way that I was helping people get to know me and get to know my personality and everything. And that became a really great lead generation pipeline. But the second piece, so after one-on-one, what I decided to do was a 6-month group coaching program, and that's called Booked and Balanced. And what I saw once again was an opportunity for helping those who are already established in their business, because there's honestly a lot out there for like new VAs. There's a lot of courses, there's a lot of Facebook groups and everything. But once you get past the like, here's how you set up your first service and here's how you package, and price things, there's not a lot for those who are already consistently making like into the 4 figures per month in their business. And what do I do next, right? Do I go agency model, or do I have a signature service that is more premium priced or whatever? So Booked and Balanced is specifically for that demographic who has been in business for a while, has consistent clients, like already knows the beginning pieces of it, and is now like, I need help with everything else. So that program is both group and one-on-one. They get some one-on-one time with me, but we also have a Facebook group and group coaching and, all of those pieces. And that's been really, really successful. We're in our second iteration, headed into our third for that. And I maxed out both times. Well, one time I was close to maximum on that. And then this last round, we're at max capacity for the group. And one of the things that was really funny was I kept saying to my coaches, I was like, I don't want to, there's already enough for new VAs. Like, I don't want to go that route. I don't want to talk to new VAs. Like, I want, established everything. And that just kept not happening. Like, I just kept getting an influx of new VAs who kept following me. And finally I was like, I have enough knowledge and I have enough content already created now that I can take a lot of that and put it into a full-on course for them. So I had already created a couple mini trainings and everything for newer VAs and OBMs, but Built to Profit is specifically it's a full-length course, all from A to Z on like how to set up your systems, how to find clients, how to price and package, how to market, how to sell, how to create an amazing client experience. In the last 2 months, I've been going through a beta test with 15 women of Built to Profit so that I know exactly where the holes were, where the additional questions were, and we're able to shore that up. So I'm super excited about this launch that's happening now. It's been phenomenal, and I just can't wait to continue supporting all of these new VAs.
Mm. Man, and you do that so well. This hosting the group program, welcoming people in, that is the ENFP. And I see it. So you're in launch mode right now. This episode is dropping September 26th. So you're in the middle of launch mode. What you're talking about is like perking the ears of the listener, and they're thinking, wow, like I need to go follow this woman, maybe check out what she's launching because this sounds like something I need. What can they do? Can they still get in? When does the cart close? Like, where do we go to find out more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can head to thelaunchguild.com/built to profit, all one word. And it's got, full sales page of everything that you need to know about the course. And also my Facebook group would be a great place because I'm going to be doing a ton of Facebook Lives. Cart doesn't close until October 11th. So there is still tons of time to get in. And yeah, I'm so excited about this. I think it's going to be super fun.
Okay, awesome. So now that we've talked about how you have your company set up, you've got this agency model, you've got this course and group program model running, and so much of what you've already explained to me, as the person who talks about personality types all day long, to me, there are just so many pings going off and like little light bulbs of like, ooh, that's ENFP. Ooh, that's ENFP. Oh, yeah, that's so good for her. I would love to dive in here. So, to the listener, if you're not an ENFP or if you're not, familiar with the ENFP personality type, it's also known as the campaigner personality type. And if you notice the letters, E stands for extrovert, N stands for intuitive, F stands for feeling, and P stands for perceiving. Put that all together, and that basically means that Tasha is super good and natural at hosting and mentoring people, taking on that. I like to call it like the matriarch role. That's how I see it. People feel welcome and seen, and then also still moving forward. So Tasha naturally holds space for people where they are, and then just such an interesting feel good way guides them forward. Maybe not even with saying much, but just leads by example. And you just can't help but when you're in Tasha's vicinity, wanting to know more about how she's done what she's done and then move forward as such, right? And so that's ENFP in a nutshell. I've had the honor of meeting Tasha in person. We met in San Diego at Mastermind Live in January. And I see that in person from you, Tasha. I see that how you show up online. I see that in basically everything you're doing in your company, how you're creating a team around you, how you are being the visionary for a very quickly growing company, how you're mentoring your students, and then how you're choosing to market your business. How do you see, from your perspective, how do you see your personality showing up throughout? Like, are you cognizant of it or are you just choosing to show up this way?
Yeah, I think I'm just choosing to show up this way. And then every time I take like one of the personality tests, whether it be Myers-Briggs or whether it be Colby A or Enneagram or something, it kind of just affirms, the fact that like, oh, this is why I'm showing up this way. This is why this feels easy for me and it feels really hard for other people. Because the funny thing is that most VAs and OBMs are introverts. And so me being an extrovert, sometimes it's hard for me to understand fully, like how it's difficult for them not to show up in the same way. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
but I think that that's been a great lesson for me and just like, in being able to coach differently because in knowing that they're just going to show up differently in the space and need to, and that's okay. But I think for the most part, it's just been, okay, what feels good? And let me lean into what feels good and what is converting best rather than let me like lean against it and rebel against it.
Yeah. I just had an interesting conversation about this in the last couple of days because me as an ENFJ and you as an ENFP, I have to say a lot of the current trendy marketing strategies like Facebook Lives and hosting a Facebook group and hosting a podcast, a lot of that extroverted type of activity and using spoken word and this empowerment and encouragement that everyone is craving. As ENFJs and ENFPs, we're kind of having a moment. Like, this is the trendy stuff is really we like it. It feels good for us. And at the same time, so that's nice. Like, okay, cool. Thank you, universe. This is great. And at the same time,
Right.
not everyone operates that way. So remember, listener, as you're listening to how Tasha's doing her stuff, it's because it works really well for her. Like hosting a Facebook group, hosting a podcast, doing Facebook Lives, mentoring within group programs and video courses, all of that is very geared for the ENFP. Okay. And so if you're not an ENFP and you're listening to this and you're feeling the weight of the shoulds like coming down on you, whoa, like hang on. Remember that we're talking about Tasha and ENFPs right now. Okay. And if you're an ENFP and you're like, yeah, but that some of that stuff doesn't really work, that's fine. That's okay. Anything that doesn't feel right for you,
Yeah.
you can let go of. That's totally fine. It's like we are not here to should all over. We're here to empower you to do what feels good. So, and I love that you're doing that, Tasha. Like you're doing it unapologetically.
Yeah.
That's why it's working.
And one of the things, like when we met in January, one of the things that I think I asked you a question about was like, I don't have any desire to be on a stage in front of like 16,000 people. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not one of my goals. And, or have a Facebook group with like 40,000 people. Like that feels really heavy when I think of both of those scenarios to me. But what I love is like smaller, like more intimate communities. And I was like, am I actually an ENFP if like I feel this way? You know? And you said to me something about, you know, it doesn't mean that the size of the audience isn't really the important thing. It's that matriarchal position that I end up having. And when I saw it that way, I was like, oh, okay, that feels really good. Like I'm going to be hosting my first retreat in March. And like, that feels really good to me. But like, don't ask me, even I've been to a couple like big conferences, you know, where it's like 1,000 or 3,000 people. And I don't feel like I find my tribe in that as easily. And so it doesn't feel as easy to me, even as an ENFP.
Definitely. And that's a really good distinction. I find that ENFPs thrive most in the more intimate settings. Now, intimate is relative. And so some people feel like intimate is 100 people and some people feel like intimate is 7 people. And so it is relative to how you see it. But you know what? I don't know what that actually is. What I have a theory on is that ENFPs tend to be quite naturally empathetic and empathic. And so they can really host and hold space for an intimate group of people, make that group of people too big, and they are now too far out of their comfort zone to feel like they can really serve and hold space for those people. And so then now we're like, oh, too big, not totally feeling good about this. But if you can find that number of people that still feels like, okay, I can show up for these people and hold space for these people in the way that I know is going to serve them best. Now we're rocking and rolling. Like we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So no shame if you don't want to get up on a stage because that's not for everybody. Definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about how you host a community as part of the Launch Guild's online presence. You've talked about it already, your free Facebook group. What do you do with that community that makes it a viable part of your business? So tell us like your ENFP hosting secrets.
Well, I go live in that group once a week at least. And so what I found works really well is anytime there's any kind of video content, and we'll talk about this. Let me tell you about how I use Monjuro in my marketing also. But within my group, especially, like I've just found that people really connect with me when I do lives. So I make sure to at least go live once a week in that Facebook group. I also, if there's a question that comes in, even if it's not like a lot of people don't tag me, specifically for questions, but if another VA or OBM is asking a question in the group and I happen to be able to, I'll go live and answer a question and tag them and say, like answering Brit's question right now or something, because that just makes them feel like they are really seen and really heard and that I'm reaching out specifically to them. So that's been one of the things that has really helped the group. Our group is not so much about like finding, client. We don't really even allow people that aren't VAs and OBMs to come into the group. So it's not one that people are coming into to find VAs for. So it's mainly a place where VAs and OBMs can like ask questions, or like if they're having a hard place with clients or something, they can come in and get responses to. And so me being there as much as possible for them has definitely been the key to success in that.
Now, that is in the arm of your business that's geared toward coaching and mentoring other VAs. In the other arm, where you're running your agency model and you are offering services from your team to these coaches and course creators, I have to assume like those people aren't really hanging out in Facebook groups a whole lot. And so, what's working over there? What's attracting those types of people?
Yeah. So I spent 2018 doing 52 coffee chats in 52 weeks. So I started the year and I was like, okay, what challenge am I going to give myself? And so I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So I did it very strategically. And I think like, I just need to pat myself on the back for a second, because I've told other people about this before and then I see them do it and I'm like, no, not like that though. So the key piece is not posting it in just any Facebook group. I would be really strategic about who I decided I wanted to talk to and reach out to, or I only posted it on my personal Facebook page, because I knew that those were people that, I had already kind of vetted and knew in some capacity, even if it was just online. So I would I would do a blank invite on my page, on my Facebook page. Or if I saw somebody in a Facebook group that kept popping up that I loved, how they were commenting or how they were answering questions, the questions they were asking, I would reach out to them via Facebook Messenger and, introduce myself and invite them to a coffee chat. And the rules for the coffee chat are, it's not an opportunity for me to pitch you my services. It's not an opportunity for you to pitch me your services. It's an opportunity for us to get to know each other as people. And when we got on the coffee chat, the first conversations weren't even about their business. It was more about like, tell me about you, like, tell me about your family and what you like to do outside of business and all of those pieces that like people don't ask, they forget to ask when it's mostly business to business. And then so the coffee chat was a half hour long. At the end of it, I'd ask them who they are specifically looking for in their business this year. And of course, out of just politeness, at least they would ask me the same question. And so what that became was a really great referral network for people, for me reaching out to other people and for, other people reaching out to me. And of those 52 coffee chats that I had, at the end of 2018, I reached out to 10 of them and asked them to be like actual referral partners. And I have a referral partnership basically set up that, thanks them in basically for introducing me to my potential ideal client. Because with 6 and 7 figure business owners, you're right, they're not hanging out in Facebook groups. They're not even really hiring from Facebook groups when they get to that point. But there are a lot of people that already have the trust and their ears, on a daily basis and an ongoing basis, like their Facebook ads manager or their graphic designer or, their marketing director, who they're going to be the first to ask them, hey, I'm looking for a new OBM. Like, do you know anybody? Hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. Do you know any podcast managers or podcast producers? So that's been a really easy way for us to get new clients. And I would say referrals are probably 90% of my business.
Mm-hmm. It makes a whole lot of sense because of everything that you just explained. This space creation for these people to meet you and for you to meet them without the other garbage that people plug into coffee chats. Like, it's not actually a coffee chat if you're trying to pitch me your stuff, or if I feel like I'm, that whole thing. And so I really appreciate this. This is so ENFP. And I will also say, anyone that's listening, This, I would recommend to just going through my kind of Rolodex of types. I would recommend this coffee chat thing to INFJs, INFPs for sure. ISFJs, this is 100% something that you can do today that would completely revolutionize and transform your company. I'm telling you that right now. This could be great for ENFJs if they're just getting started. I think too far down the road, this will get a little muddy and off track. But in the beginning, this could be something super cool for an ENFJ and definitely for an ENFP. Again, you host a space so well to make sure that people feel welcome, seen, and heard. Yeah, it just makes a ton of sense. I love this. Let's kind of wind the tape back. Tell me about how you use Bonjoro because I'm just like really curious. What's the secret there?
Yes. Okay. So Bonjoro, for audience that may not know, is an online platform where you can create custom videos for people and send them out. So video is a huge part of both sides of my business. So before I talk about Bonjoro, I'll talk about how I use video for even the client side, the agency side of my business. So our agency, the way that we basically get clients is we have a discovery call, and then all of our packages are very customized. So there's no two packages that are alike. So I go, take about a day or two and figure out like options for the package. And because I know that most of my client base they are visionaries, they're not going to be in the weeds and they're not going to love bullet points. I use Loom to create videos for them. And I basically do a video walkthrough, and it's not like a recording of the screen. It's a recording of me. And I have, all of the options for their proposals on the screen. So I'm going through them, but it's been helpful for me to be able to walk them and talk them through the reason behind each option. And then I also give them some insight on I know we talked about this, but I think that, XYZ is a little bit more of a priority, which is why I put it in option 1 and not in option 3 and so forth. And the feedback on that has been phenomenal because like visionaries, they're just like, I don't want my eyes will cross if I look at text or a long email, but like me talking to them, even though most of the videos are between 6 and 7 minutes long, they're like, thank you for doing that. So that's been video on the agency side. And then in terms of how I'm using it to fill my spots in my coaching programs and my courses, I first tried it and very successfully when I was filling Booked and Balanced for this last round. I think I had 4 spots left. So I had pre-sold a bunch of spots and everything, but I had 4 spots left. And I just really knew that I could get these spots filled. I went through, we use Kartra for all of our everything for our email management. And I looked at all of the people who had at least clicked on the sales page. So I had sent them, all the sales emails and everything. I clicked on the sales page. There were 50 of them. And I took a Friday, about 4 to 5 hours on a Friday. The first thing that I did was I went through every single one of them and researched something interesting about them. So either went to their website or went to their Facebook page or knew, what state they lived in, what country they lived in even. And then I recorded video after video and, it would start with their name because oh my gosh, you recorded a video just for me. And I'd personally invite them to hop on a call to talk about any questions they had about Booked and Balanced. Well, within a week, all 4 spots were gone. So I think it was just the personalization piece of it, which is something that is totally missing in the online space a lot of times, and something that I think is really something that we need to bring back. And I've also used it specifically another couple times now to fill a retreat that I'm working on filling, and also as thank yous for the people that are in Built to Profit. So once that person signs up, they get a video thanking them for being a part of Built to Profit and for letting them know how excited I am to work with them specifically.
Oh man, I love it. I so love it. For anyone who is comfortable with the personalization and the video stuff, do this. If you're not into video, if the video, if this is all telling you to kind of back up slowly because this doesn't feel right, maybe you could do an audio. I've heard of major names in the online marketing space talking about maybe not a video, but they recorded an audio, and anybody can do this. And also, if you're thinking like, yeah, that would be cool, but I don't have enough time, maybe you need Tasha. Maybe you need someone helping you so you can stay in your zone of genius and make sure that everything else is, that whole thing. But I love it. I love it. This is, again, I'll just reiterate, anyone who is in the diplomat tribe, INFJ, INFP, ENFJ, ENFP, this is key. I also extend this to ISFJ, ESFJ, ESFP. These people are just standing out to me to really be able to resonate with this video and or audio, straight audio kind of personalization. That could be super cool. Okay, so I want to hit on one more thing before we wrap up. You mentioned that in the beginning, when you started your own VA business, you knew that you had the technical skills to do the VA tasks. Like the tech stuff you picked up on pretty quickly. I must say, that's not always an ENFP thing. Okay. And so, is this just something that you've kind of always had, like this skill to pick up on the tech and it doesn't really overwhelm you? Or is this something that you've had to build over time? Take me into how you approach the technical stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like it's something that I've always been innately good at, but I don't know. Yeah, I was never like, I was always an artsy kid in school and everything. I was never into like tech things. But once I got into tech in general, it felt easy for me and it felt good.
Yeah, so that's a great distinction because I saw that you are using a Facebook ad strategy in your marketing strategy right now. I'm sure you're using it for your launch. And that, to me, as I saw that you're an ENFP and utilizing Facebook ads, I was like, that's interesting. I want to know more about that because usually I wouldn't tell an ENFP, like, yeah, definitely put some effort into Facebook ads. Maybe your company needs it, but it's probably not you that needs to get their hands in that. If you want to do Facebook ads, I would recommend having someone do that for you before you get too far into the weeds and want to poke your eyeballs out with your pen. So we already kind of know like the techie stuff, you're just naturally kind of picking up on that stuff quickly. And now that you're running all of this stuff, who does that technical stuff for you? Are you still in like the day to day of that, or is that someone else's to do?
Yeah. So my personal Facebook ads, actually, our Facebook ads manager for the team runs mine as well because she's amazing. And
Hmm.
I will say now that you brought that up, like Facebook ads were one of the things that I was like, I want to learn this because I always want to be able to do my own ad strategy, like if worse came to worse. And I started doing it myself and was successful at it, but it wasn't something that I loved doing.
Hmm.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to follow my own company advice and get out of it myself and hire it out. So Facebook ads have definitely been one of the things that I have hired out. A lot of my funnel creation in general is stuff that I do myself because that feels really fun to me. And creating like my pages and all the integrations for stuff, I still do that myself, even though my coach keeps saying like, why are you still doing this yourself? But I'm like, because I want to.
We all have those things.
Yeah, but I know we have those things. I know. And those are the hardest to give up when you're like, okay, I like doing this and I'm good at it, but should I be doing this? Like the
Yeah.
answer is no.
Yeah, that's a really great distinction. And that's really encouraging, and if nothing else it underlines the fact that we're all different. And so we do have to paint with some broad strokes around here when there's over 7 billion people on the planet and only 16 personality types. So, there's some things that we can assume and work with and do, and then there are things that are just really just special to you. And if it feels good, do it. Right? And if it feels crappy, let it
Yeah.
go. So, yeah, that's really good. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's tell the listeners, where can they find you online? Where are they going to find you?
Yes. So my website is thelaunchguild.com. And I love Instagram. I'm on Instagram stories every single day for several hours, which is terrible. So Instagram is the_launch_guild. But all of our social media handles are on my website. And yeah, I'd love for you guys to come find me and hang out with me.
Perfect. And if they're listening to this as the episode goes live September 26th, and they are a VA or thinking about being a VA and they really want to learn from you, your current course that you're launching is something I know that they're going to want to go learn from. So remind us, where do they go to find that?
Head on over to thelaunchguild.com/built to profit.
Built to profit. Awesome. Obviously, all of that is linked in the show notes. So go ahead, open up those links, click, you're over there. Awesome. Go hang out with Tasha. Tasha, thank you so much for being here, being so generous with your knowledge and your wisdom. Listeners, go find Tasha if you need to get back into your own genius zone or just learn from her and be coached by her, because come on, you heard her. She's so good at this stuff. And I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Now it's time to connect your marketing strategy to your personality type. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to download your Marketing Personality Type full report. Use the code MPP at checkout to get $10 off. And that's a super special code for podcast listeners as a way to say thank you for being here. In your full report, you'll learn about your personality type, how it relates to the work you do, what your best marketing strategy includes so you can start implementing it right away, what your worst marketing strategy includes so you can avoid it, and so much more. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to get your full report and use the code MPP at checkout to receive $10 off your purchase. And one more thing before you skip on to the next podcast. Would you please share this episode with your entrepreneur friends who also need to feel good about their marketing strategies? Take a quick screenshot of your podcast app right now and share it out via text, Facebook, or my favorite, Instagram. Remember to tag me at Marketing Personalities in the photo so I can be sure to send you a huge high five and thank you for sharing the love. This podcast is edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, and you can find them at podcastengineers.com. That's all for now. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Love ya. Bye.